That's pretty
in
much.
the cosmos of Negrodome. Darth Nigger. Shit.
What's up, y'all? We back with our Minister of Information, Merido Rodriguez. The third.
What's happening, brother?
Absolutely nothing. I am glad you're off in the cosmos because sh- things have gotten a little out of hand here on planet Earth, and
They
you
always do.
being a forward thinker, you're already where the offending troublemakers are going. Like you're like they ain't going to Mars without me.
They trying to get there. They are trying
I
to
hope
get
they
there.
leave. I hope they lose sooner rather than later.
Well, the problem is they destroyed the planet, and I take nothing away from people who have convictions in life. You
Mm.
know, I'm a firm believer you have to stand up for something, but sometimes the court shoe wearing sandal. I don't eat anything with that has a face. People get on my nerves sometimes because they want to make sure that they don't want to leave a carbon footprint. Look, these major corporations that trash the planet, you're not going to put that on me to help clean it up.
Absolutely not.
Get the money from Congress. You're getting your tax. Hell, they just passed that crap in Congress today. It still has to go before the Senate, but if you're getting millions of dollars, trillions of dollars in tax breaks, then y'all clean it up.
Absolutely. Hold on. We got
Stop
taxed.
putting it on me.
We got taxed when they first started talking about greenhouse emissions to
Hmm.
cut down our carbon footprint. Then when they made EVs, they taxed us again by jacking up the price of gas. You know, gas on
Right.
average is $5 out here. Hold on, California produces gas or produces oil, and yet we got $5 a gallon, and it has everything to do with greenhouse emission laws.
And if anybody still needs proof that the American people are not too bright, even after allowing Trump a second term in office, them thinking that the president can just lower the cost of gas.
When has that ever happened?
It can't happen because the president doesn't dictate. It does not dictate the cost of oil.
The
There's
sad
an
part about
entire governing body that does that.
the sad part about it for me is not only do most of his constituents not know that, he don't really even know that.
True. I mean, but how much does he actually know
But he
other
knows
than he
enough to
woke up?
know that I don't have to know anything. In fact, his whole 3 cycle campaign has been I don't really know anything, but everything that I don't know is because I know everything and what they're doing is wrong.
I
Oh,
mean, let's go back to Reagan for a moment. I want to take a look at the Republican president since Reagan. Reagan was a moron. He was literally punch drunk,
mm,
right? He did exactly what they told him to do. He didn't think for himself. He didn't come up with anything. He did exactly what they told him to do without question. That's why they love him so much. They always go back to Reagan. Oh my God, Reagan was the best Republican president because he was a patsy,
he's a stooge. Yeah.
right? Then Bush got in. They really don't say too much about Bush because Bush ran the CIA. Bush really had control, and he did what he wanted to do. Then we had Bush's son, dumbass.
No, there was Clinton, and then there was Bush's son.
Right. I'm not even talking about the Democrats. We're just talking about the Republicans. Bush, the son, was what, a C student at best?
Yeah.
He was a moron that desperately wanted to prove I'm not that stupid. He reminds me of the Godfather.
Oh, not Vito.
Mm-mm, not Vito. I'm gonna
Not
see if you
Sonny.
get it. Huh?
Not Sonny.
No, not Sonny.
Who's the one?
Sonny was the root.
The one he had to
Michael
whack.
was the huh?
Michael had to whack. Michael had to whack Vito, wasn't it? Is
No, no, no. It was Fredo.
Fredo.
Remember the scene when he was talking to Michael and he was like, I'm not dumb like everybody says. I got
Yeah.
smarts. That was Bush. That was the son. That was him as president. Okay. Um, then we get this idiot, right? The problem with Trump believes that he is the most intelligent man on the planet. And it's not that he's trying to prove that he is, he's just acting as if he is. And it's gone way beyond the emperor has no clothes.
It's
It's like, what the fuck is wrong with this dude?
it's
Right?
arrogant ignorance.
It's worse than that. That's being tame, right? I mean, this guy, it's like he wakes up every day after getting about 30 minutes of sleep because he rage tweets throughout the night with his entire demeanor is hold my beer. That's how he walks through life. Hold my beer. Whatever I did yesterday, I'm going to top it. And it's going to be the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen in your life. I mean, no, can you name any other president of the United States that peddled in conspiracy theories to the point where he believes this shit?
And says them to other
He
people.
thinks this shit is true.
You know who he is as president? The governor on Benson.
Man. Yeah. Yeah, I can see
That's his,
that. Yeah.
but that's his real personality. And the thing about that type of person, what makes them bad and dangerous isn't just their behavior. If I want to go do something out of character to the rest of the society, I'm going to run into barriers.
Mhm.
He's dangerous because whatever the fuck is on his mind can actually happen. He can actuate it. And there will be people, not only will people move out of his way, there are going to be people helping him, cheering him along, and writing about it afterwards. Like, that was the greatest fucking thing that ever happened.
Let me ask you a question. You have an earned doctorate. Is that right?
Yes.
Name one person that you know on this planet that is a fleeting idiot. I mean, a moron, has the mental capacity of a maggot that can make you do whatever they want you to do and you would praise them.
Zero. Zero. There's no one.
So, why do, well, I know why, and I'll explain it. My question was going to be, why does the Republican Party allow this to happen? Well, two words: white supremacy. You know, and the biggest problem with white supremacy is the melanin deficient in this country believes that they will benefit from white supremacy, not understanding that white supremacy exists to serve itself. Everybody can be a casualty of white supremacy. No one is protected under white supremacy because if it needs to survive, it will sacrifice anyone. And
Absolutely.
it doesn't care who it is. And the sooner the melanin deficient people understand that, the sooner we will be able to get to a point where we can dismantle white supremacy. The biggest problem with it is we are the ones trying to dismantle it, and we don't truly understand how to dismantle it. You're trying to get a system that was created over 500 years ago to do something that it is not designed to do, and that is difficult. Marching, holding hands, singing kumbaya, that's not going to do it. Boycotting certain businesses is not going to do it. Um, What Hinton did, Daddy Hinton, that's a start. People need to be held accountable. And we know that they're not going to be held accountable in the court system, right? You just had the AG of Ohio come out and they want Hinton to be banned from crowdfunding. So, how can you say that no one should be able to contribute to this person's defense? Okay, you know what? Fine. I'll go along with that.
No,
So no police officer should be able to use money from the Fraternal Order of Police to fund their defense. Let them pay it out of their pocket. If we're going to play games, then let's play games. Let's make it equal across the board. If you're not going to make it equal across the board, prepare yourself because it ain't going to be as easy as you think it is. We have to make people suffer consequences if we are going to do anything to stop it. I know I've been going off on a tangent. What were we supposed to be talking about? Because we just
no,
jumped
no,
in
no.
and got
This
started.
is right exactly. We in the pocket now. Because I've been talking about this for years,
Man,
and I say it jokingly about ghosting, but
look,
it's a very real. It's a real premise. The premise is we are very reactionary because we live in a system of white supremacy and have to be reactionary. There's something always
exactly.
that's happening in the public sphere to an individual that reverberates to our core, our real world.
Mhm. Exactly. I mean, when
Oh,
you
so
really
many of
think
those
about it,
moments have happened, and in order to keep ourselves safe and adjusted during this whole American experience, we've conditioned ourselves to say that was just one thing, but that ain't
mm,
the rest of the world, and just to keep moving on. But you see all of this
right,
stuff. You at some point we have to build it into the system for
right.
us on our side of building because power is never one way, community building is never one way. They ain't the only ones who built the community. We have to have our own system of retribution
We do. We
that
do.
operates
There is no
amongst
question.
us, just like I should be able to look at you, know what we're going to do, whether we're both a part of it or not. And when we see something happen, we know what happened. And we just
Define the word progress.
advancement forward in relationship.
Okay. So would it be safe to say it will be akin to forward motion, right?
There.
Progress is not stagnant. We've allowed ourselves to become stagnant in our own liberation. Well, what do you mean by that? We're stuck in the civil rights movement. We don't want to progress past that. Well, I mean, it worked, yeah, 60 years ago.
Yeah. If this is
It's not going to work anymore.
this is a
Let's
war.
look at let's look at um, some of the events that took place. I want to talk about two in particular. Remember Jenna 6, Jenna, Louisiana?
Yeah.
Okay. Trayvon Martin. Let me tell you what happens in this country. Anytime we face injustice or someone loses their life at the hands of either law enforcement or some fringe white supremacists, we're outraged for about 2 weeks. We have a 2 week attention span, right? If we converge on a city like we did in Jenna, Louisiana, or in Florida with the Trayvon Martin situation, we'll go there in great numbers. We will march, we will protest, and white supremacists will just sit back. They won't say anything. They'll let us come down there, throw our temper tantrum, and then we leave. And nothing happens. They let the 6 gentlemen in Jenna, Louisiana out and then rearrested them after we left. It's ridiculous. There is no way anyone on this planet can justify to me while George Zimmerman is still walking around as if nothing happened. Where else would that take place?
Ghosting.
At some point, we have to take control of our own destiny, right? Um, a lot of us will think that it will happen politically. It will not, because politically, all we know how to do, because all we ever talk about is voting. Voting is not going to get you what you need because you're not following up that vote with an agenda. We don't have an agenda. It's like we go through the same process every 4 years. All right, an election comes up. Now, stop me when I'm wrong. It's always the most important election of our lifetime.
Mhm.
Democracy hangs in the balance.
Dun-dun-dun.
We have got to stop XYZ from getting in office. Normally, it's a Republican. Democrats are just controlled opposition. I'm going to show you how. The Democrats say, hey, look at what they're doing. Look at what they want to do to you guys. You can't do that. You got to vote for us. Get us in office. Okay, what are you going to do for us? Oh, we're going to do this. I have this legislation. I'm going to work with these people. I'm going to partner with these people. None of them are politicians. They're usually a so called community leader, which means somebody who they've chosen to speak for you, that they're willing to allow in a space where they can talk to make you feel as though you're being represented.
Being
No,
heard.
I didn't vote for this person. They don't have an agenda. So, how can they speak on my behalf? Do they know what Black people need collectively? No, they don't. Miss me with that foolishness. So, we go through that. Okay, let's go ahead and put that person in office. All right, we'll put you in office now. Are you going to fulfill the promises that you made for us? Well, we got to focus on the midterms. We don't have enough people in Congress to get the things done that I want done. So let's go ahead and let's focus on who's running for office in your area, and let's get them into Congress. Okay, we get them into Congress. All right, now you have the majority in Congress. You going to fulfill those promises? Well, we got to start looking at the next election. I'm going to need 4 more years to get all this done. So let's go ahead and start pounding the pavement, getting the word out so we can make sure we hold office. All right, we put you back in office. All right, you ready to do what you said you was going to do? Well, I'm a lame duck at this point. We got to see what the next person is going to do. I tell you what, see this guy over here? He's going to run next. He's coming in behind me. He's promised to take up the torch that I started. So he's going to be the one to put it in into action. So let's go ahead and let's get him in the office. And the cycle, they have us on this ever-ending treadmill. You know, it's like we're waiting for some benevolent white man to come along and say, hey, you know, this country has done you guys so wrong. And it's high time that we do the right thing. Unless you're talking about reparations and we getting a check, I don't want to hear your benevolence.
It's
You're not coming with nothing.
it's they understand how biblically rooted our worldview sometimes is. And
Exactly.
they come in as this Moses Messiah leader. That's the paradigm.
Yep.
And
Yep.
but yet it allows for us to be pussies.
Yep.
I ain't got to do nothing until the Messiah come. And then when the Messiah come, I ain't got to do nothing. The Messiah gonna handle
They're going to do, they have the power to do everything that I need done. And somehow they're going to know exactly what each one of us as an individual needs.
that
We
part.
are not a symbiotic organism. However,
But
as Black people in this society, collectively, we have a lot of shared interest.
a lot of shared interests and
Mhm.
a lot of unaddressed shared interests.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
totally agree that we are not a monolith and that we are diverse and that there is no one shot solution for, solving white supremacy. It's a system of white supremacy from the top to the bottom. I mean,
Exactly.
It's not just people's behaviors, it's what's going on inside of their head. It's their collective history. The people who are enacting this agenda, most of them grew up never having seen segregation, never having seen slavery. Hell, most of them have never actually interacted with a black person outside of a business function, if that.
Yep.
Yet
Something
their
that you
mind
said.
is preoccupied with that is the thing I need to control, solve in order for me to be okay. Like you say, white supremacy robs most people, even and especially white persons. The average white person don't get the full benefits of fucking whiteness. Like you're
Mhm.
broke right now. The average working class white person is mad because they're broke, but rather than say they're broke, they're saying it's because of these Mexicans, these black people, and this woke gayness. But is that really the
Lyndon B.
problem?
Johnson said it best.
What?
You give them somebody to hate or blame, they'll never see their hand in your pocket, or they'll never see your hand in their pocket. Now, something that you said a moment ago about we have some shared interests, some unrecognized shared interests, and you talked about what goes on in a person's head, right?
Mhm.
That is directly akin to the media. If you can control what a person sees, you can control how they see themselves, right? His, I want to give you two examples, and this is from Norman Lear, Good Times and All in the Family. Both men had about the same level of education, did they not?
Mhm.
Okay. But Archie Bunker had a house and had a job, a supervisory job at that. Okay. With that same level of education, James, the best that he could do was a car wash and lived in the projects. What is that saying to Black people? And if you're constantly bombarding them with those types of images, how are they going to begin to view themselves?
Mhm.
And this is how devastating that is. When the Cosby Show premiered in the 80s, people thought it was science fiction. There is no way a Black doctor and a Black lawyer are married in a happy family. They couldn't believe it. It was like the Matrix. Remember when he said the first Matrix we did was perfect?
Mhm.
And people rejected it because people defined their existence through their suffering. Same thing with Black people. We've become accustomed to that is our lot in life. It's got to be gangster, violent. Um, it's got to be a movie about friendship and loyalty above all else,
It's,
and betrayal and just a bunch of sick shit. We walking around with a disease and don't even we're walking around with an undiagnosed disease. And then when somebody tries to tell you, listen, you're suffering from something. No, I'm not. Something's fucking wrong with you. Ain't nothing wrong with me. That's how we're controlled through the media. Everything that we think that being Black is has been fed to us by white people, by the oppressor class. Now, how can you realistically say this is who we are? This is how we define ourselves, and we are the ones that defined it, as opposed to somebody showing you who you are. You believe in that, and that's who you think you are. We don't get it. But that's starting to change a little bit.
how so?
Well, the most obvious example is Ryan Coogler. Coogler. Um, for decades, um, Spike Lee was constantly at these international film festivals because he knew that Hollywood was giving the foreign market the impression that black movies are not going to do good. You're not going to make any money if you purchase them. So Spike Lee was there promoting his projects and trying to get them to start looking at black projects, right? Um, the film Black Panther, that destroyed the myth that our movies are not going to make money. Nobody's really interested in black. Do you know that was the highest grossing Marvel film of all time? They had to re-release Endgame because no other film could beat it. They had to re-release it because they didn't want it to be number one.
Hmm.
That was the catalyst right there that started showing the international market, hey, them guys support movies and there's money to be made. And then this one, Sinners.
That's what I wanted to ask you about. Like, it's
Oh my
Sinners
God.
is doing Sinners is doing Marvel numbers on a indie budget, less than $100 million budget. It was 90 million,
But
but
look at the support that it's getting.
it's already at 300 mil, and it was like one of those. It's not a summer blockbuster. When stuff comes out in like March, April-ish, it's not a throwaway film. It's a let's just keep the party moving. It's kindling wood.
Yeah, this weekend is really the official beginning of the summer
The movie
blockbuster.
season.
Yeah, it's always Memorial Day weekend.
But the fact that this throwaway black movie, like you say, in a market that has this perception that l- black movies in general, black stories aren't going to be marketable
Mm-hmm.
outside of a small black audience. It's shattering that myth.
Because it's okay. So it took a story arc that's not traditionally focused on in black cinema. Right? We're talking about horror, vampirism. You know, you really don't see that much in you've um, Death by Temptation, Blade, but we can't
Vampire.
really include Blade because it was just a character, not a whole storyline. Blackula, which was just during the black exploitation era. Okay, so this was the first original story centered around black characters, the black community, black lifestyle, and it introduced an element that we haven't seen before, right?
That's what made me
Because
laugh.
of that, it's relatable because you have that fantasy aspect. So even people that are not a part of our community, they can appreciate the movie and they can appreciate the storytelling and then the depth of it alone. And we as a people, we need to be careful when we start trying to assign depth to everything that we see because sometimes it's not as deep as we think it is, right? But this movie, there was a lot of deep stuff going on, a lot of it. Um, I can't remember the guy's name. Black guy, he's anti-black, heavyset dude, just a cornball, coon. Can't think of his name. He came out trashing the movie, saying that the white guy was the villain, and oh my God, this movie was racist. No, there was a reason why that white guy
Jason
was the
Whitlock.
villain in the movie. Yes, that. Oh my God, I can't stand that fat
Oh.
piece of shit. Yeah, he's that's another conversation, but he claimed that the movie was racist because the white guy was the villain, but there was a reason why.
No, the movie is racist
Um,
because it had unflattering images of white people. That's all I
yes,
heard. I mean, I've been listening, but that's all I heard.
yes, that's basically what he was saying, right? But let's see why was the white guy the villain? Historically, what have white people done
The demon's the
when
devil.
they leave their land and go somewhere else?
Rape, pillage,
They
mirage.
suck the blood, they suck the lifeblood of wherever they go.
That was
It's
what
like they're traditionally, it's like a virus. It's like they're vampires.
that was
Okay. So that
symbolic
makes
message.
sense right
Yeah.
there. Huh?
That was supposed to be one of the symbolic messages of making
Right.
the central antagonist a white vampire.
Right. Now watch this. Something else they added in there. Remember at the beginning during the narration, they were talking about um, musicians and how they transcended um, past, present, and future, and they were all linked together. And they were talking about the different ones in each culture.
Hmm.
Did they mention anything about any white culture? What
I
they were called in the white culture?
I don't think so. I think they went
Okay.
African and Caribbean. The most
Okay. So, do you have any idea what the white guy was from?
Ireland, right?
Ireland. So there's a specific name for them. Um, I can't. I'm not sure how it's actually pronounced, but it's Fili, Feely, I guess. They were the poets from Ireland.
Mm.
They were said to be able to predict the future. Okay. Remember when he made it known to Samuel, I came here specifically for you?
Hmm.
Imagine somebody who has the power to predict the future gets Samuel's gift, his forethought, and is able to reach the masses the way Samuel was. They'd be all powerful.
Hmm.
There was a lot of symbolism and depth in that movie, right? And I had to watch it more than once so that I can truly enjoy it because you know how I am when I watch movies. The first time I watch it, I'm really looking at the artistic value and how things are tied together. So I'm looking at it from a mechanical standpoint instead of just purely entertainment.
Hmm.
But after I grasp all that, then I have to go back and watch it again just for the sheer entertainment of it. And without all the symbolism and whatnot, it was still a great movie. It was visually impeccable. I mean, just the soundtrack, the dialogue, the relationship between the characters, how the script just it was constant forward motion. There were no scenes that were left dangling. And I can't stand movies like that. It's everything should tie into everything.
What's your
I've
take?
heard I'm sorry, go ahead.
What's your take on the Choctaw chasing Remick at the beginning, where the Native Americans hunter trackers are the vampire hunters? The reason now this is me as a viewer.
Hmm.
I know this is important. I know that like historically, all of these different peoples have very real interpersonal connections, just as people and individuals. But they looking at it cinematically, the director put that scene in there. Like you say, there's no
Uh-huh.
black parts, but that part is never paid off. But so
Um,
my point is, if it's not paid off, the payoff is in the addition of it. But I'm grasping on what was he trying to tell me? Because he's telling throughout this thing. He ain't telling you how to feel, but he's saying something at each little drop. He didn't accidentally pick Choctaw. He didn't accidentally put that there. He didn't accidentally set those that relationship dynamic between Remick the vampire and those people. Because remember, this is originally written by Coogler too.
yeah, it's original. It's not based on any source material. So that particular scene. So let me say this before I get into anything else about the movie. I may see some things and come up with my own, or place my own meaning to it, or derive something from it that may not have been the director's intent or the writer's intent.
That's all. That's
That's
art.
why I said earlier we have to be careful when we try to assign meaning to things. because sometimes we'll make something deeper than it actually is. Excuse me. So, tell you a couple of things that was going on in that scene that I was just like, wow, does anybody else notice this? Um, did you notice that he didn't ask for permission to come into their house until after he saw the Klan outfit in there?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And the way that he asked, he immediately pulled out some money. So, of course, me and my frame of thought, he saw from that clown outfit that he was dealing with poor, ignorant people who would fall for anything if I show them something shiny. He knew he had an in at that point because as long as they knew that somebody who was not white was chasing me, they would give me entrance into their home. Okay. What did you see flying above that home in that scene?
Black crows.
Those were vultures. Why were they there? When you see vultures circling,
Oh,
what is the
because he's
first thing you
dead.
think of?
He's dead.
Huh?
Dead carcass.
Okay. And what was he?
But I thought he's undead.
He's the undead, but they're not living. They're still dead.
I know,
That's
but
why they call them the undead because they are dead. There is no life, but they're not in the ground the way we traditionally know people to be when they are dead. Does that make sense? It's kind of, but it makes sense that you would have the vultures circling because you have somebody in that house is dead and they only circle around a carcass.
mm,
Now, how many vultures did you see there?
I don't know. I just can't
It
remember.
was three of them. Um, the ones who were hunting him, they are native to that area. And they are a combination of three different African nations.
What?
Because when I heard the name, I knew that they were native to that nation, to that area. And I was like, uh-huh. And when I saw the three vultures, I was like, well, damn. The beauty in that movie is not only was it entertaining, not only was it deep, but it has destroyed the myth that our movies need to be either a movie about people in church, people in gangs, or people in prison. We don't have to be criminals. We can just be people, right? And it destroyed the myth that white people are not going to relate to a black movie. Only black people can relate to a black movie. And it's opened the door to stop making movies like The Soul Planes and just trash. Let's make movies of substance, right? One of the first movies who tried to do it, and I appreciate it for that. It wasn't the greatest movie, but I still appreciate it. After Earth.
After Earth.
Yeah, Will Smith and Jaden Smith. When was the last time you saw a black movie that was a science fiction movie?
I remember that.
Yeah,
Never went to go see that.
you listen. I don't want him
I
jumping up
threw
there
that.
trying to slap
I'm
me
gonna keep
because
it
it ain't gonna
100
be the
with you.
same. But
I threw that in the Pluto Nash category.
well, no,
As
no.
soon as I
It
seen the premise of it, I
actually
was like, "Oh yeah, all right."
the premise was actually decent. I think they should have taken a little bit more time or waited maybe another 10 years before they put it out.
They were trying to
It
ride the wave of Will and his son doing their tearjerker movie.
Yeah, that's what they were trying to do. I mean, again, it was a good premise. I appreciate what they were trying to do with it. It wasn't executed um, in the best way in order for it to do what it could have done, put it that way. But it did open the door for the possibility for sinners to be made.
Well, okay, they tried to make Netflix tried to adapt Octavia Butler to the small screen, to live action. And it was, if you've ever read the story,
Mm,
masterful. The
mm.
the TV series, it was a good attempt, but it didn't ring true
Every
like the story does when you read it. And I'm not
Let me
sure
tell you why.
what's getting
I'm
lost
gonna,
in
I'm gonna
translation.
explain why that happens. That tends to happen a lot. Okay. Um, Everything does not always translate as well from page to screen, right? And there's a very big reason why. Um, when you're reading something, you're imagining what's happening as you're reading it. All right. The writer can paint a picture all day for you, but as you're reading it, as he's describing it, you're translating his description into how you're seeing it. It's going to be uniquely to you. Once someone translates word to screen, it's no longer part of your imagination. You're watching someone else's imagination. So it's not always going to be the same. Best way to explain it is Marvel Comics. If we look at the traditional costumes of the X-Men, how campy would that have looked on screen?
You've seen
It
several.
would have looked stupid.
Yeah,
Um, Luke Cage, if he had wore that bright orange shirt
they tried to do it. It looks stupid.
with a metal tiara, he would have looked dumb. You see what I'm
Oh,
saying?
the original Luke
So
Cage had chains on his arms. That was some.
he had a chain belt too. It's so many
Hold on,
things that
what
have
did
to
that have to do
change
with
when you're
anything?
translating something from page to screen. There are a lot of things you can't touch. You really don't have time. You're dealing with time constraints,
Yeah,
especially when you're dealing with a film. Most studios are not going to do anything over 2 hours. Anything above 2 hours, you got to start putting your own money up,
mhm,
right? Or they're going to start telling you, you need to start cutting all this out, all right? Um, even Spike Lee's Malcolm X, there's a lot of things he couldn't even discuss. Not that it was so in depth that they didn't want us to see it. No, it was just a lot. There were a lot. If you've read it, and I'm sure you have read the autobiography, it
mhm.
talks about a lot of people in there that we know about today that were not showcased in the movie. Farrakhan wasn't in it. Well, there was a reference to him, but it wasn't him.
And it plays a big. You would have had to talk about not only him mentoring Farrakhan, but also those dudes who came there came from Farrakhan's mosque.
Exactly. Then, too, you got to think when he was a Pullman car porter, um, anybody who was redhead at the time, they were called red, but they were known by where they were from, right? He was Detroit red. But was he Detroit or
It
I
wasn't
can't remember which one he was. But there was another red that was a Pullman car porter at the same time, Red Fox.
us. Yeah, that's how they became friends.
They're not gonna touch on that in the movie. There was only what maybe 5 6 minutes where they showed him as a Pullman car porter, and then the movie kept going because it was a lot that he had to cover in a small amount of time.
I thought that Spike Lee's character Shorty was like an amalgamation that included Red Fox.
Shorty was actually a character.
In the book, he's
He was actually a character in the book. Now the difference was he didn't play as large a role in the book as he did in the movie,
That
because
part.
in the book he didn't spend as much time talking about his criminal activity, but he let you know in depth of what he did and the type of stuff he was involved in, but it didn't stretch out that long. So they really didn't flesh out the character of Shorty as much in the book as they did in the movie. But they actually did an interview with the real Shorty when he was when the movie came out. Um, but I mean, I have a friend of mine, and I kid her all the time. I'll ask her about different movies. If it's not a black movie, a movie with a predominantly black cast, she ain't gonna watch it. And I'm like, that's a good movie. You should see that. I don't care. They ain't black. And it's funny to me because there are a lot of us like that.
That's not
But
a.
that's why they're able to get away with regurgitating the same bullshit to us all the time. Think about in the movie Malcolm X, what Elijah Muhammad told him. If the people are thirsty and you give them this water and he poured the ink in the water, they'll drink it because they're thirsty. But if you give them a choice, imagine sinners came out. Imagine and if he happens to hear this, forgive me, but I got to use you as an example. Imagine a Medea movie came out at the same time, the same day. What movie do you think would have done the most money?
Oh, absolutely. Medea all day.
No, it wouldn't.
You don't think so?
No, it would not have done as much as Sinners, because Sinners is something new.
Nope. I
We've been given
disagree.
sinners while we're thirsty. Think about it. Think about what he said now. If you give them a choice. See, you're thinking that we would go see Medea because that's what we're accustomed to. That's
No,
what's constantly being fed to us.
it hits.
All it takes is a small number of us to go see sinners and start putting the word out there. You know what people will start thinking? I mean, it's a Medea movie. I watch that shit when it come out on home video. Or I didn't see how many more stories you gonna tell about Medea anyway. I'm gonna go see this new shit.
But here's why I disagree. And both these movies, what they're doing is appealing to the way human logic works in reference to video. People like seeing themselves. You would rather watch a video about a black human being than a dog with a black voice. Even though you would, it's just the way our minds work in hierarchies. With black people,
Right.
the reason they keep throwing these tropes at us is because they've thrown them at us in real life, but they know that when we see people doing these on film that look like us, we can identify with that story better. Medea is always some high drama black conflict. Even sinners has criminality in it. It got the church in it. It got music and dancing in it, and it got a savior white person in it.
Who was the savior?
The redemptive white was the white lady. Even though she becomes
No,
a
she wasn't.
vampire, yes, she
She
does. She's
wasn't.
the one who gets the pass, and she
She was not. No, 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 no. I beg to differ.
okay.
You have
So
to
who do you
understand
think?
the trope of the benevolent white savior comes
I didn't
along to
say it was
save the
benevolent
day.
white savior, but she was.
He saved her because when he saw his brother kill the woman he loved, he knew, well, he ain't gonna have no problems with killing her. Let me get her. He even told us what he did. When I saw him kill her, I knew that I had to get her out of there. And that's what he did. He saved his woman. But wait, well, hold on
She's the
one
white
second. Let me
woman
let
that
me say this.
makes white people not all evil in that movie. This is how I'm saying benevolent white character works.
Okay, but at the same time, I'm gonna have to disagree because she was not the traditional white character.
You can make working against type work. And you
Okay,
don't think Kugler is
we got to go with the one
sophisticated enough
drop
to do
rule
that?
though, bro. Because at the end of the day, she was passing, so she wasn't white, so she was not the
No, she was
redemptive black
passing in the
person in the
story, but
movie.
come on. Let you see, you're right with me, dog. Is Haley
No,
is
no, bro.
Haley
But you
is
trying to
Haley
say
not
see
is Haley not? Do you, as an audience member, not know that Haley is white. We all know that.
I mean,
We all know
of
that.
course she was
We
thinking
all
that
know
until
that.
she told her history.
And
Once she told her history, we
she has
stopped
to say
viewing
that
her
on the
as
screen to
race.
help our minds reconcile it. But we wanted it to happen anyway. First thing
I, I'm
first thing
not
you
gonna
see
say
when
we
you see
wanted
her
it to
on that
happen
screen, because
anyway,
they
bro.
said, "What that white girl doing over there?"
But bro, I'm not
What
gonna
that way?
say that we wanted that to happen to her.
All right.
She was integral to the story being told. Now,
He ain't
here's one
accidentally
thing.
writing it
Here's,
this
here's
way.
something I was gonna say when we first said when you would. So let me ask it this way: what was the time period of this movie set?
1930.
Okay, what do we know of that time in American history in the Deep South? What was that known as?
Depression and Jim Crow segregation.
All right. How much racism did we see in that movie? How many downtrodden Yassa boss black lives did we see in that movie? You know why we didn't see that?
Because the
Because it was not important to tell that aspect to tell the story. And that's why many of us do not like period pieces because it's always got to show the, oh, yes, about the downtrodden and all that BS.
part of the
Nobody wants to
reason
see that shit.
part of the reason they're still doing period pieces is because in order to create that type of story, you have to have an authentic black space where it's just black people interacting with black people.
That too. But you're gonna tell me that you can't do that in today's if it's set in today's time?
I do it. I think it can happen. You think
It
it can
can.
happen clearly, but in Hollywood, this is why you keep getting uh not just this with Color Purple. Did you need Color Purple to tell a story about domestic abuse and relationship with God? No,
Yes, you did.
no, you didn't. You didn't have to go all the way
You
back.
did. I'm gonna tell you why you did.
I didn't. I'm not saying it wasn't effective. I'm saying you didn't
No,
have
I'm
to
not.
do that.
No, that's not the reason why.
The reason
The
my
reason why you had to tell all that to tell the story of Color Purple is because you had to make sure. And this happens if you really look at the film industry in this country. Every 10, every 10 years, you got to put out a movie. And all the critics proclaim it as one of the greatest stories. Oh my God, this movie was just magnificent. But look how it treats us. There was not one redeeming black male in The Color Purple. I don't give a shit how many times people try to convince me otherwise. There was not one redeeming black man in that movie. All of them were a piece
movie,
of
but
shit.
that is the movie. The movie is Steven Spielberg's telling of Alice Walker's Color Purple. That's how it should have been.
But it's a white man trying to tell our story. So I'm talking about just the movie itself,
My
not the
point. My
book.
point. My point is answering your question. In the novel, all of those problematic men have a story arc that redeems them
Yeah,
in relationship to their tragic flaw and the community of black people being built.
but
Mister,
not in that damn
Mister,
movie.
Mister and
Everybody
Celie wind
was
up
shit.
becoming best friends. Uh, Harpo winds up getting back with Miss Celie, repairing their family, and he accepts that everything domestic is not feminine and that he is not being emasculated by taking care of his family the way he does. You never get that in Spielberg's movie. Spielberg is
Bruh,
more
some,
interested
some of
in
the
telling the story that white people want to see about black people.
some of the shit that they did in the movie was just utterly disgusting. You got a black woman telling grown ass black men, a whole group of them, take my babies home. And she stood there and fought them police officers while them Negroes tucked their tail and ran home with the kids.
She's saying
Bruh,
it for a reason.
the movie was just disgusting. And you know, there are people that are fans of it, and of course, there are black people. Oh, that's the greatest movie. Well, you know, more power to you. If that's what you consider entertainment, and that's what you want to consume, I'm not going to tell you to do otherwise. That's on you.
The,
But when your wife starts emasculating you, don't question why.
if your wife watches The Color Purple and comes home and emasculates you, and you let her do that, that ain't have nothing to do with Color Purple.
Shit, it may have planted that seed. And
I, I,
if you sat there and watched it with her long enough, you gonna expect
no,
that that's your lot in life
that's some
to
bull.
be emasculated.
I don't think
Man,
so.
I don't like that movie. There was
I don't
nothing
like
about
the
that
I don't
movie
like
that
the
was
idea of
interesting
black
at all.
people or people in general using the excuse that the movies made me do it. Or you know what I'm saying? Like this behavior is the result of this person being engaged with a certain type of media.
Understand, I'm not saying that a movie is going to have that big of an influence on you. However, as a black person in this society, we have to be careful what we consume.
I will agree with that. I will agree with that. And
We have to be very careful what we consume.
I mean, I may be speaking out of both sides of my neck. I'm personally very cautious in the media that I consume, but I'm also not a person who's going to say they can get me that way.
Right. Some
Just
of that already has to be in you for you to even carry on like that after you watch it.
if I go watch The Punisher and I go start vigilante and whoever I think needs to be vigilante, does Marvel or Netflix wind up being the culprit, or is it my behavior?
That was you out
A
here
white
acting like
man,
a
a
damn
white man
fool.
smacked the shit out of me when I was 12 years old, and there was nothing I could do with it, and it made me snap. Then I'm 30, say I'm 36, and I go off on a white people killing spree. Do I get to say, excuse this killing spree? That motherfucker slapped the shit out of me back then.
No.
That's the
I'm gonna be the first
you
one
also can't
calling you
say
trying to figure out what the fuck is wrong with you.
you also can't say I watched all my children, so I cheated on my wife.
Like I said, some of that has to already be in you, you know. Um, but many of us don't understand that the media, it's not just entertainment. Um, my mother, God rest her soul. I miss my mama. She used to watch um Atlanta Housewives. I mean, she would sit and watch a 16-hour marathon. And I just used to tell her all the time, Ma, could you? I don't understand how you have a master's degree and you watching that trash. It's just funny. I was like, Ma, there's nothing about that that's entertaining. And I kept saying, I don't think you understand what they're doing. Basically, what they're doing is they're telling the world, I don't care how much money you have, I don't care what level of education you have. If you are a black woman, you are no more than some monkey that want to call each other a bitch and throw drinks on each other over some bullshit and fight every time y'all get together. That I don't even understand how we allowed that show to be on as long as it did. That shit should have been shut down after the first episode.
Because black people don't have the power to define anything in this system.
Sad, but there is some truth to that.
Especially
If
when
we don't consume it, there won't be an audience because that type of dribble is not for white consumption. That's for us to consume that. That's what it's designed to do.
we're the hardcore base, but don't nothing get sold without white people being in the mix. I mean, white consideration. Black music
I
is
mean, it has to
like
be. There has to be. There
back
has
when
to be.
records when we were selling vinyl records, a gold record meant you had a black audience. If you were a black artist. If you went anything beyond gold, you got some white people who like you.
It was a crossover.
That was what the
And a
crowd.
lot of the record execs were trying to get their artists to do that back then.
Most commercial, whatever it is, especially by these corporations, is trying to go platinum.
Right.
It's catering to advertisers who have white consumers who they kind of like this jigaboo stuff. So give them some
Right.
give them some ignorant black programming. And we know that it'll stay because black people are going to support it. If you show
And
them
my God, if you
themselves,
can get a white person to do what those niggers do,
if you ain't,
Elvis, how the
but it
fuck is
ain't the same.
Elvis the king of the greatest man? Fuck him. All he did was steal from black people. Why not get it from the source? But see, white people do not want to, especially during that time. There was no way I was going to look up to some nigger. Who's that pickaninny singing? Fuck that. So
They
they had to get a Elvis Presley. Because damn it, if my daughter's losing her mind over that jigaboo, it's going to be some problems. Somebody might have to die. You already know how they think, bro. It's sad to say a lot of that shit is still around. That
still.
mentality is still around. Prime example, Donald Trump is the damn president. So that mentality is still alive and well. Hell, they used to call Michelle Obama a tranny. That's actually a guy. Look them big ass gums. She looks like a man with 85 teeth. Okay, but we're talking about people who have college degrees, masters, graduated from schools Trump couldn't even spell. But y'all think he was great for the country. Tell me how that works out.
It's not that he's great for the country, it's that he says what they have in their head and heart.
Yeah.
And it's not just conservatives. You got to listen to white people.
Well, it's all of them.
They
It's
keep
all
saying
of them.
"Oh, he's just saying the quiet part out loud."
Watch this.
You're not mad that he said it. You're embarrassed that he said what you really think and what y'all be saying at the secret white people meetings when we ain't there.
Bruh, remember when I said the Democrats are controlled opposition?
Yeah.
I want you to think about something. It was Democrats that voted to censure Al Green.
Uh-huh.
If y'all agree with what he did and y'all didn't have enough courage to stand up to Trump, albeit that he wasn't standing up to Trump on behalf of black people, but at least he did something. Y'all held up ping pong paddles. I don't need ping pong legislation. Jumping his ass in the middle of his speech. Oh my God, I can't believe that he said that while he was speaking. Remember, you lied? Y'all didn't have shit to say about that.
Promise you, I would have been sitting in there going, "Boo, boo."
Man, they would have, look, they would have put hands on me to get me up out of there. Because I'd have been, because sit your dumb ass down whole time.
Well, we're co-equal. We're co-equal branches. I'm a congressperson. I got just as much weight as you.
Yeah,
I ain't did nothing illegal, but I'm supposed to not like that guy.
man. Uh, 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 Representative Rodriguez, why don't you ever refer to Donald Trump as the president? Because he's a dipshit. He's not the president. Fuck him and fuck you too if you don't like it. I remember initially I really didn't care for Jasmine Crockett initially because initially it looked like she was doing the whole sister girl trope. The clap back and all that sass shit. But you know what? At least she's doing something. I'm about sick of Hakeem Jeffries giving me. I don't want to hear no motherfucking talking. You always want to give a speech, an intellectual speech, but you ain't doing shit. Now these motherfuckers that sat there and put this bill through the House of Reps at 2 o'clock in the fucking morning, and you ain't got nothing better to do than give a heartfelt speech. Man, ain't shit I can do with that. If you want to run for president, fine. Wait until the primaries to start with your fucking campaigning and all these fucking speeches. I don't want to hear that shit. We
I
need legislation.
We need
You
legislation.
ought to be
Actually,
disrupting Congress.
why is it that no matter if the Democrats are in power or out of power, the Republicans is whooping their ass any old way that they want
You
to?
know why? You know why? I'm gonna show you why right here. You know most of us know how to play Uno, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Every black household has their own rules when it comes to playing Uno, right or wrong.
yeah,
Okay. So you at my house and you start beating Uno by the rules I told you need to play by. Oh, I'm gonna start introducing new rules I ain't tell you about. Oh, them in the rules, them in the rules. But you ain't tell me that. That's house rules now. That's house rules. I can't tell you everything because sometimes it might not even come up. But them the rules, so you got to play by them rules. And they keep moving the goalposts. They keep cheating and doing all kind of unethical shit. And you know what the Democrats are doing? They're trying to play by the rules that are set forth on the instructions contained in that pack of Uno. That's why they can't win. They need to start. Look, at this point, the first time Barack Obama gave the State of the Union address, and that man hollered out, "You lie!" All gloves are off. It's all dirty politics at that point. Because y'all are still trying to play by the rules. They ain't playing by the rules. Y'all are sitting there smiling, checkmate. Meanwhile, the Republicans say, checkmate, huh? They turn the whole table over, grab the board, shove it up your ass, and say, now checkmate that shit. You can't do that. You need to play by the rules. They're not playing by the rules, so why the fuck y'all keep trying to play by? Man, shut that bullshit down. I'm talking about every time somebody from the Democratic Party stand up and hit that podium and about to speak, they just start reciting your ABC, sing Schoolhouse Rocks, anything, do anything.
Here,
Y'all give them too much time to pass this bullshit.
here's why the Democrats, in my opinion, aren't as interested in him not winning as they might appear to be, or like we want them to be. There's a lot of money in losing as a Democrat. In this last election cycle, they've raised more money than they had ever raised, except during the last two election cycles, which each toppled the cycle before that because they got this boogeyman.
Yeah, I want you to think about this, bro.
Kamala Harris, we knew the hell she wasn't going to win. And got I love this woman, but we knew she wasn't going to win, but she raised $1 billion. When the campaign is over, what happens to that $1 billion?
Bro, I'm gonna get even deeper with you. Okay. I really don't say this publicly, but I'm gonna say it today. So the whole world will know exactly how I feel about this shit, right? Let's not forget when Kamala Harris was on the ticket in 20 and they ended up winning. She was the vice president elect. There was an interview and someone asked her about basically what was she going to do for black people. Bruh, she started dancing around that fucking question and I'm sitting there and I'm chuckling because I'm like, she's either going to avoid it altogether or she's going to have to answer it head on. And she answered it head on. She got tired of dancing. She said, look, you think I'm just going to go out here and start passing laws that only benefit black people? No. So why is there an Asian hate crime bill? See, because you're not passing any laws that's only going to benefit black people. Why is there an Asian hate crime bill? We don't have one. There is no law specifically designed to protect black people. You got to shoehorn everybody else in. Then when you start diluting the waters, they're the ones that benefited from it than us. So I was not too keen on her to begin with, you know, but I recognized what needed to be done. So this is something else I normally tell people who I can have these conversations with. But I want you to think about this. I really want you to think about this. And anybody watching, I want y'all to think about what I'm about to say. And I want you to take one day out of your life, just one day. And I want you to, as you're going about your daily life, everybody you look at, I want you to have this thought in your mind. About 50% of white people in this country voted for Donald Trump. So, for every white person you see, no matter what they say to you or how they act towards you, they probably voted for Trump. If you see two white people, one of them definitely voted for Trump. So, are we supposed to continue to be out here believing people when they try to claim that they are our allies? Or do we need to do what Muhammad Ali said? If there are 1,000 snakes outside my door, no, if there are 10,000 snakes outside my door, and I know 1,000 of them mean me no harm and they're willing to lay down their life to protect me from the other 9,000, should I take that chance and opening that door hoping that they're going to protect me, or keep the door closed and remain safe? Everybody invited to the damn cookout. We ain't even at the cookout no more. Ain't enough room for us. You understand what I'm saying? All somebody got to do is say, yeah, I like that. Or, man, Tupac was the best. That was the greatest rapper alive. Oh, they invited to the cookout.
Game been cooked ever since Bill Clinton blew that damn saxophone on Arsenio.
Oh, Arsenio, boy.
Once they realize all you got to do, if you do a little blackness, if you're white, you do a little blackness around them. It's like the white version of cooning, but their cooning like it works in
Pandering.
reverse.
It's just pandering.
Pandering.
Bruh, I want you to think about this. This was the most, I was so damn mad. I wanted to drive up to DC and just go up and down the halls of Congress and just start slapping folk. When when them melanin deficient folk put on kente
Oh,
cloth,
I knew you was
but
gonna say
bruh,
that shit, man. Dog,
bruh,
dog.
that was the absolute most disgusting thing I had ever. I was like, are you fucking serious right now? Y'all
I'm
putting
sitting
on
there.
kente
I'm
cloth?
sitting there. But first of all, Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi doing anything around black people is disgusting.
Ain't it?
But your boy Jim Clyburn, your frat brother, being in the middle of that calamity. Good sir, good sir. We're
Yeah,
gonna we're gonna have to
we
have a
need
conversation outside of all of the forums, brother Clyburn, and it's gonna result.
we need to get his voting record. We need to get Clyde voting record because the only thing I know that he's done for black people his entire time in Congress was to have just give everybody a fish plate once a year. That defund the police cost this good white boy that election. Stop sloganeering. Stop Negro. Negro.
Nah,
You need to
he
stop
fucking saved
sloganeering.
Joe
Stop
when he saved Joe
sloganeering.
Biden by browbeating us. Joe Biden was cooked. He had lost New Hampshire and Ohio. We're in South Carolina. Nobody wins off the South Carolina primary, but Clyburn is going hard for Joe Biden. As
Yeah.
black people, we remember he was instrumental in Anita Hill. And although,
Man,
even though we didn't want Clarence Thomas in, and Clarence was wrong, but what Joe Biden, Joseph Robin Biden did to that black woman to discredit her is what got him in. Joe
yeah,
Biden is the
yeah,
Lindsey Graham of the Democratic Party. Y'all don't remember who Joe Biden was. He didn't start becoming this magnanimous grandfatherly uncle until he lost in the primary to Barack during his second time trying to be president. We already said we don't give a fuck about you, Joe Biden. Then he starts to be in this whole, you know what, I like black people. I love Barack Obama. And then his positions start changing. He becomes LGBTQ friendly. He becomes pro-woman. This man, shut up, Joe Biden. Like,
man. Listen,
these white
bruh,
people are power-hungry opportunists.
bruh, listen. Anti-black racism in this country is extremely profitable.
Absolutely.
Anti-black racism in this country is big business.
Mhm.
And there are plenty of black people who figured that out, who are riding that wave. Candace Owens, Jason Whitlock, Byron Daniels, dare I say Stephen A. Smith. Stephen A. Smith, whenever he's talking about an issue and calls himself talking to black people, he's always screaming and yelling and cussing. But if it's about a white person, he speaks to them in such a calm tone, just wanting everybody to look at it from their perspective. You know, don't be mad at Massa. Massa can make a mistake, but you niggas, I don't deal with him like that. I don't. I just it's. And the funny thing is, you'll get some folks that you don't like white people, do you? I have no problem with white people at all. I don't like racists. I don't like people who think that they're so better than someone else. They can't do anything but oppress them. They have a lot of atoning to do. Instead of atoning, they want to erase it from the history books, criminalize the discussion of it, and telling us we need to get over it. The same way y'all get over the Alamo and 9/11. When y'all stop talking about that, we'll stop talking about slavery. This country was founded on kidnap, rape, murder, maintained through oppression, which included kidnap, rape, and murder, and sustained through economic oppression, which includes kidnap, rape, and murder. So until anybody addresses all of that at all times, we need to start doing something different. That's all I got for today.
Hey, that's a word there, brother. Hey, I appreciate your time, Merido.
Anytime, brother. Anytime. We'll do this again.
Definitely. I'll hit you up and I'll send you snippets of this when it comes out for you to put on your own social media channels.
Okay. Sounds good.
Appreciate you, dog.
Rudolph.